What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You, with another episode of Black Fathers Now. And yo, as always, I mean, I know that I say this at every interview, but as always, I got a dope brother that we are going to really just dive into his story. And this brother's doing amazing stuff. He's impacting the world. He's inspiring the next generation. He's a father. He's a husband. I mean, look, let me just tell you, I got my man Gerald Moore Sr., and he is the creator of Mission Fulfilled 2030. He's a husband. He's a father of 5 plus a bonus. He'll dive into his story a little bit and tell us about that. But the brother's a technologist. As I mentioned before, he's a nonprofit founder, and he is 100% committed to empowering Black boys to do the doggone thing, especially in the realm of technology. He's based out of the DMV. I think he's originally from New York. We're going to let him jump into a story. But ladies, because I got to, y'all listen to what we're talking about. Ladies and fellas in the Black Fathers Now family, let's welcome my man, Gerald Moore Sr. What's up, brother?
How you doing, Mike? Man, it's a pleasure to be on your show, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the work that you do highlighting Black fathers, because it's definitely not enough of this being done to showcase Black men and what we do for our communities and why we are of value.
Man, dude, that's what this is all about. This is it's called Black Fathers Now, and I talk to the overwhelming majority of brothers that I rap with are fathers, but this is really about personal development, and this is also about highlighting Black male excellence. Because to your point, we need to start sharing our stories, and we have to tell the stories from our context, from our perspective, because if we do so, then we can tell the real story. We're not coming at it from an angle trying to get a specific headline or whatever. It's like, no, we're trying to lay out the full scope of who we are, because there's some good, there's some not so good, but that's all part of the story. It's puzzle pieces. You got a 500-piece puzzle. You can't define that puzzle by one piece, but that puzzle's incomplete without that one piece. You dig? So yeah, that's my mission, brother. That's what we're here to do. So, but before we jump into your story, because dude, you got a bomb story. Give the shout outs, man. We always put the shout outs up front. Who is in your team? Who is in your world that helps you be the brother that you are today?
Oh man, like right now, man, my wife allows me to be who I am and always promotes me and is in my corner no matter what I want to do. If I'm not waking up in the morning and she know I got something to do, get up. You got to go put in this work, right? And I remember last August, I left my job as a cybersecurity engineer after 20 years to pursue this vision of Mission Fulfilled 2030. And it was random, man. I got up one day and I had a meeting scheduled, and I was like, I can't do this no more. It's not who I am. It's not what I want to do. It's not my work. And I resigned, like on the spot. I called my job at a meeting. I'm not going to make it to the meeting. Project manager said, why? I'm resigning effective immediately. Walked upstairs and went to my wife, and I was like, I think I just quit my job. Her reply to me was, what took you so long?
Whoa.
This is what you do. Go do what you do. Go do the work that you do to inspire people. Right. So, having that type of backbone behind me to do this work. So definitely shout out to my wife. Shout out to my children, man. I have awesome children who are just great, man. They six kids, and they're all like my first son. My son was born when I was 17 years old. I have full custody of him when he was 3 months old. I tell him all the time, we raised each other. I'm a first generation college graduate. He's a second generation college graduate. But think about that. Think about what the data says about a Black man who has a kid at 17. Not only what's going to happen to that Black man, but what's going to happen to his kids. So the projection for both of us was jail. But I ended up being an electronics engineer, getting a degree from Norfolk State University in electronics engineering. He became a college All-American at Ohio University, so, and now he's an awesome father to his 2 children, my grandchildren. So shout out to, my son and my daughters. My next oldest daughter, she plays tennis at Virginia Tech. My next middle daughter, she's a musician, producer, very just beast musician, self-taught in 4 instruments.
Wow.
My youngest daughter, who's a twin boy girl, she's an elite dancer. So, and then my youngest son, he's projected to get a full scholarship to play basketball, and they're all intelligent. So, and they're all supportive. So shout out to my family, shout out to my crew. I got a group of boys, a group of men now that I grew up with in high school that we 35 years strong. They're all, and the reason why we click is because they're great fathers.
Ooh.
We don't let nobody in our crew that's not great fathers. And there were times during our years together where it was like, one of my friends had a kid he had a child that was outside of his marriage. And we had a meeting with this brother and was like, yo, if you're not going to take care of this other kid, you can't roll with us.
Whoa.
You need to fix it. Right?
Whoa.
Those brothers, shout out to those brothers. PFG crew, they know who they are. They know who they are. And my extended family, man, my extended family and my Mission Fulfilled team, everybody who supports Mission Fulfilled, shout out to Black Enterprise. Black Enterprise supports the mission.
Yes.
Shout out to Damon John, man. Shout out to Damon John. Damon John just shot me a video the other day, bigging up Mission Fulfilled and the work we're doing. So
wow.
Yeah, man. So that's my shout outs. And everybody's important. Everybody who's made a donation to the organization. Right? Everybody, because it's gonna take the village. It's gonna to the work that we do. It's going to take the village. Shout out to Karen Hunter. Shout out to Karen Hunter who had me on Urban View last week. Right? Shout out to Mike Dorsey who thought enough of me to bring me on the show to expand the message and the vision of fatherhood.
Brother, man, you said in your shout outs, like we could legit just have this whole conversation about your shout outs, because you started with the support of your wife and the importance of that. And ladies tune in to Black Fathers Now too. They like to understand what we're talking about, and so they can have some ammunition in their back pocket. Now I'm just playing. They listen to what we're
that's
talking.
Why they listen. That's why they listen.
They know what's up. Look, they the smart ones. We don't listen to their stuff. So that's why we're not armed and we get caught up with whatever, different conversation. But one of the things that you mentioned was the support of your wife and how she knows you. And when you went to quit your job, she said, what took you so long? Because she paid attention, she knows you, but she didn't question that, she supported that. And that's the thing that's so interesting when we think about relationships. We think about being equally yoked. Some come from a spiritual perspective, some come from the perspective of having someone who understands you. You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting as you were saying that, I think back to a brother that I connected with years ago, and he's an Indian guy. And he is in an arranged marriage. And one of the things that he talked about was, he said, in our culture, it's not about us falling in love first. It's about our families picking the person based off of all these different components and compatibility and interest and all of that. And you come together and then you build the lust later, but it's that responsibility and that connection first. And what's so interesting is the component that your wife brings into the mix for support for you is that whole thing of understanding you, that compatibility. It's like I'm helping to accelerate and accentuate, pour gasoline on fires that are supposed to burn. Now we snuff out fires that ain't supposed to burn, but the fires that are supposed to burn, she pours gasoline on them bad boys, right? And we don't always understand the value of that until you have that in your relationship. Absolutely. Like my wife is like that. She knows, she's like, dude, you need to go do this, and I'm just like, wow, you see that. And women, the lady, and this is to the ladies listening, your man needs you to support. And support sometimes is letting them know that, dude, this ain't your lane. But when you see a lane and you see a fire burning, pour gasoline on that fire. You don't know what that dude is capable of with that little bit of support from you, the person closest to him that knows all his intimate, dark, deep, nasty stuff that don't nobody else know. You know all of that. So you hold that in your balance. But if you support, you can end up doing stuff like my man Gerald's doing with Mission Fulfilled 2020, 2020, 2030.
Yes, the first lady of Mission Fulfilled is definitely, all in. And dude, like you said, like, listen, when she what she recognized while we were dating was what most made me happy was when I was working with Black boys.
Mm.
What she realized was the response she got from other women and mothers, like, wow, you got that man of yours,
Mm-hmm.
you need to support him, right? And other women were like, listen, what he's doing, what he's done for my son, and she recognized really early that who I was not an engineer, but I was a leader of men.
Woo.
Right. And she promoted that, and she came with a son. And immediately, one of the first things she said to me as we progressed dating, what I most love about you is how you embraced my son. Her son was always included, day one. Day one.
But you're naturally a leader of men. That's your calling. Like that's your, and, it's interesting. And even taking it back to the next part of your shout out, when you were talking about your crew of fellas, it's basically like your accountability network where you guys are supporting each other, but you're supporting, I mean, you probably have fun and all that stuff too, but you support each other in a way that helps each one of you all be the best version of who you are, especially in the realm of fatherhood. I mean, and to be honest, that's not always common. And it's unfortunate that that's not always common, that we are truly our brother's keeper. So it's kind of like you are a leader of men. You've come to understand that being your calling. Your wife recognized that as a major quality, and she's pouring gasoline on that fire. But as a leader of men, you're also surrounded by supportive men, right? Like it's funny how as you start walking in this direction, how this stuff starts to materialize, right? To open you up to really be the full embodiment of it all.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we have to do, right? When we think about accountability, like when I said, like, I can't, if you're not taking care of your responsibility, I can't roll with you, because at the end of the day, that's a reflection of me. If you're my good friend and you're not taking care of your children, ultimately, that reflection is a reflection of me, because you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and I'm your friend. So that reflection trickles down to me, and I'm not having that.
Like, look, check this out. You ain't finna taint my stock.
Exactly. And I think when we begin to be more accountable to each other, and we can get Black men to stand up, and we hear all these excuses, well, she did this and she did that. At the end of the day, no matter what happens in any relationship where you have children, the most important piece of that are the children. When the relationship is dead or you trying to fight, the most important piece is the children. Like, I've gotten divorced, and I was with my first wife for 20 years. And we were just incompatible. But at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, what was most important was our children. How can we, in this divorce, make sure that our children are whole?
Wow.
And what that included is us having joint physical custody, right? Us having joint physical custody. So we had joint physical custody, and we laid down our own rules. And what we decided was we were not going to let the court determine what's going to happen with our family.
Ooh, dude. See, it's interesting. We are not going to let the court determine what was going to happen with our family. There's something that has been said, been floated in multiple fashions or whatnot, and it's the whole concept of you teach people how to treat you, right? You teach people how to treat you, meaning they're going to treat you in a way that you have basically taught them to treat you. So if you're a person that tells people that this is how you are, then guess what? People are going to treat you that way, right? You've, in essence, used that in your own life in regards to the court system with you and your ex-wife in regards to the custody of your kids. Like, no matter what they say, we're not going to allow them to dictate how we parent and how we raise our kids, because we're teaching them that, look, y'all ain't really, I mean, you got power, air quotes, but you really ain't got no power in how we operate.
And actually, what we did is we never put nothing on the court. We wrote up our own agreement.
Mm.
We wrote our own agreement,
Wow.
right? And it wasn't like in our situation, it wasn't a financial situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's very well off. I'm very well off. So it wasn't a financial situation. What she knew is I was an awesome father,
Mm-hmm.
right? And she would never try and take our daughters away from their dad,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what she knew is we had to come with some agreement. So we made an agreement. All right, we'll live within a 5-mile radius,
Mm-hmm.
right? The kids will have the option to go wherever they wanted to go. It's 4 children here.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they want to get away from each other.
Yep, absolutely.
So the children are in all types of activities. One person can't get 4 kids to 4 different activities. So we knew that would happen. In a dating situation. All right, before we introduce our children to another person, the other parent would get introduced to that person first.
Mm.
I had put all of these like rules in place. Like, unless we're dating for a year or more, you can't meet my children.
Wow.
Because I don't know who you are. I don't know, and I'm not just going to be introducing my children to random women.
Absolutely.
Right? So if that's not the case, and my ex-wife knew that, she knew I would hold up to that rule. She knew that I was just solid across the board. Like, our disagreements and after 20 years and what dissolved our marriage had nothing to do with the children.
Mm.
So she absolutely knew that I would promote my children and give, because I had always done it. Right? I had always done it. So there was no reason to think that I would do anything different just because we weren't together.
Mm. Dude, what was it? Oprah? It was not Oprah. It was what was it? Who was it? Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them, right?
Right.
And that's in negative ways, because people usually use that in a negative connotation or negative context. But the reality is that's also on the positive side of the coin too. When people show you that they are good people, that they are responsible, that they are taking care of responsibilities, that they are impacting the world in a positive way, they're using their gifts, they're doing this, they're giving, they're doing all, believe them, right? They've given you the doggone data points for you to then have proof. Right? You don't have to just guess. You got proof. Like, that joker got a track record, right? So why disrupt that? Why be a disruption to this particular pattern? That's a good pattern. Bad patterns, we got to disrupt. But good patterns, man, no, you keep the stuff out the way and let that thing flow.
Absolutely, man. And definitely, like, especially when, like, today in our society,
Mm-hmm.
Black women are last to get married, first to get divorced.
Mm.
Black women are most likely to lead a single parent household, right? Mm-hmm. And in these situations, most of them in our single parent households, most of them have a very negative relationship with their son's father.
Mm.
And how we're seeing this play out, especially in Black boys, is the fact that when boys are young, and I see this all the time because I coach youth sports, when boys are young, the mothers, a lot of them are making their young sons their boyfriends, right? Mm. And they're putting all of this stuff into them, and they're wow. pouring into them, and they think that they can do it themselves. And then there's this transition point about middle school when these boys start hitting puberty. And what I hear from a lot of young men is, you just like your daddy, Now it's this negative talk to them where they've kept them away from this person. And now you just like this man that I don't even know. I haven't been able to, relate to this man. So now I have these negative feelings inside of me because I am of this man that my mother sees in this disdain, right? So now this black man is damaged for a long time. And how does he come out of that? And then as young black males, without a father, we don't have a rite of passage. What is our rites to passage as young black males? When we look at what's going on with young black males right now, it's easy to see why we're in the path that we are, because we don't even have a rites of passage. What is our rites of passage? Yo, you get high yet? Yo, you having sex yet? Yo, you been to jail yet? Like, that's our rite of passage. So when we truly don't have these rites of passage, and we have, and this is not all mothers. But then we have a huge population of women who believe that they can do it by themselves without male figures in the paths of these young black males. It's just not the case. It's not the case. It takes black men to raise black boys.
Ooh, dude, you dropped some nuggets there, and yes, it does take black men to raise black boys, right? But we could even take it a step further. It's important to have black men in the lives of young girls as well. Absolutely. So they can understand what it's like to have platonic relationships and non-sexual relationships, and to be cared for and supported, and it's not something in return required for your services or whatnot, right? So there's a value prop there. And you mentioned the whole concept of society and how the numbers show that a lot of times black women are the last to get married, the first to get divorced. I mean, those numbers are startling, and it's a challenge. And to your point, it's like a cycle that continues, because then on the flip side, if we're not developing the young boys to turn into men who can then be the change that they need to see, in the future going forward, the cycle will continue. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, we have to find a way, like we talked about patterns a few minutes ago, we have to find a way to kind of disrupt the pattern that this thing is leading on. And I guess the question is how,
So we have a lot of things working here that you said. So you mentioned, fathers need to be in the lives of girls. And man, like, I can honestly say, I probably love my daughters more than I love my sons.
Ooh.
Because I know my sons are of me, and I know they're going to be all right.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I know my sons are good men, and I know that my sons are patterned after me. And I know that the relationships, my sons have opportunities that are far greater in relation to the women that they will meet and marry in the future.
Interesting.
Far greater, just the opportunity in the numbers. You know what I'm saying? Black women are the most educated in this country. Black women have the most advanced degrees in this country. My sons are going to have an opportunity to have a choice. My daughters have a 1% chance to marry a man in the mold of their father.
Whoa, hold on. Oh, pause there. You said a 1% chance to marry a man in the mold of their father. Where does that come from? Like, where's that? Like, I mean, is that a data statistic or something? Because I've never heard that before.
So when you look at the data, right? So look at me as an engineer, right? I'm an engineer. Black males make up less than 5% of high tech and STEM workforce.
Okay.
So right there, if you want a man as an engineer, you're only dealing with 5%, right? Wow. There's so many more women. There's so many more eligible women than there are eligible men in relation when you're talking about women are the most educated. Black women get the most degrees yearly, right? So when you look at all my daughters are going to be college graduates, and when you look at their father, right? Like, I'm not, I consider myself on the elite scale. I have an engineering degree. I have a 20-year background. Like, I was a 6-figure earner, right? So when you look at that data, and they're only really working with 5% if they want a man in the mold of their father, even if you're looking at, if you want to extend that to doctors, lawyers, attorneys, which is a real small percentage, but the percentage of Black women and the competition is so great, they're at about a 1% chance.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you that as it's mind-blowing but when you break it down from a numbers perspective and you look at probabilities and all of that, it's actually interesting because and it's crazy because I have a daughter as well. I have a son and a daughter, and as you think about the raising of both of them, to your point, as it pertains to opportunities, I mean, yeah, that's it, fellas. I hope y'all listen to what he said there. It's like Mission Fulfilled 2030 is targeted at young men, but then he also dropped some gem as a girl dad. Like he's a father of young women. I'm a father of a little girl as well. When you think about that, when it comes to opportunities, we have to be mindful of that. And that's ooh.
And what's most detrimental about it, right? And the reason why, people ask me, well, when Mission Fulfilled is to inspire, educate, and activate Black boys in tech and STEM.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women ask me, why not girls? I'm like, girls gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Girls gonna be fine. Like y'all doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in order to restore the Black family, we have to invest in Black boys. And one of the reasons when I look at that, in order for my daughters to be able to get a man who's going to help them build a sustainable Black family, the percentages are so low right now. I have to jump in and fulfill this vision to inspire, educate, and activate 100,000 Black boys by 2030. Mission Fulfilled 2030. That's why it's 2030. And 2030 is past tense, meaning it's already done.
Yes.
The vision is already done. In 2030, when we look back and I expand the mission, we will have, as an organization, we'll have impacted 100,000 Black boys who will be on track to be great young men, great husbands and fathers, and earners. And earners. That's why it's technology.
Yeah.
Like we could do a manhood series all day and teach you how to tie a tie, teach you how to speak the Queen's English. But at the end of the day, if you can't be gainfully employed to be able to hold down your family, how does that help the Black family? And we all know what the data says about 2023, the average wealth of the Black family will be 0. That's why Mission Fulfilled exists. So we can make a dent in the income to wealth gap by placing Black boys in a position where they can be 6-figure earners post high school or post grad or post college because they've gone through our program and they're technically sound and tech is the future. Right? So between everything that we're going to do and presenting to them Black men in tech and STEM, and the ability to think critically, the ability to handle what we call the social emotional learning and how we think, and how we grow, and representation matters. So we're going to continue to put Black men in front of Black boys who are like you and I, like who critically think and can understand. And most Black boys, I'm gonna take this back in the day. Back in the day, I was in a hip hop group, right? When we talk about growing up in the inner city, Black boys have 4 ways out, right? We got the NFL, we got the NBA, we got hip hop, and we got drugs, right? That's the way we think we gonna get out. Those are we look at our entertainers and the lifestyle, right? We want that lifestyle. So in order to get that lifestyle, that's how we get out. So I remember I was a star football player. I was an all-state football player, right? I thought I was going to the NFL. I was an all-city basketball player. I also DJ'd for a rap group.
Okay.
For a rap group because one of these things is gonna get me out.
You got 3 out of the 4 that you mentioned right there.
My best friend was one of the biggest drug dealers in my city.
Oh, hold on. So that between y'all, both of y'all got all 4 locked down.
We got everything on lock.
The pathways out of the hood.
He was also a rapper. He was gonna be Easy-E and I was gonna be Dr. Dre.
Okay.
Right. So one of my other boys that I rap that I DJ'd for, like we in the studio, and the hook to this song was I don't give a fuck about me. So why should I give a fuck about you? What we gonna do? The scenario is the reason that Black boys and young Black males could kill each other, because if I don't care about me, I'm gonna care about you. So I could kill you because it don't matter if I go to jail or die anyway, because that's how
I don't
I'm
care
built.
about me.
That's how I'm wired. I don't even care about me.
Ooh, ooh.
Right?
Dude, can I tell you right there? It's so interesting because when I do personal development coaching and I think about the core issues, especially as Black men, that we struggle with, right? And one of the core issues is identity. Identity is it. Like, we don't understand who we are. We don't understand literally who we are. We don't understand the nuances. We don't understand our history. And because of that, when you don't have a firm foundation, when you don't understand who you are, it's almost like you're throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks. And you really don't care what it is. You're just throwing stuff against the wall. And to your point, not really caring about yourself because you really don't understand your self-worth. Like, nobody, literally, not nobody, very few people truly pour in to us on a level that deep in which you truly understand that, dude, you have gems buried inside of you. It's just like if every young boy grew up knowing that there were gems and diamonds and all kind of stuff buried inside, you wouldn't go outside looking for anything. There's a guy named Earl Nightingale. He's an old school, and there's a talk that he has called Acres and Diamonds. Are you familiar with Acres and Diamonds? And for those that aren't familiar with it, I'm going to give you just a quick snippet. The whole concept is, on the continent of Africa, you had this guy who was digging for diamonds, and he was going all over the place looking for diamonds, looking for diamonds. And after he died, someone acquired his property and ended up finding the largest diamond ever on his property. So the whole premise is, there was the largest diamond ever already on your property in your backyard, but you spent your life going everywhere else looking for it. And as Black men, and we're talking specifically to Black boys and Black men right now, as Black men, a lot of times we don't realize that we got diamonds buried all throughout our yard. We got diamonds in our bedroom. We got diamonds in the, you pull the seat cushions off on your sofa. There's diamonds. There's diamonds everywhere embedded, but we're looking everywhere else for those.
Absolutely.
Like
and,
that.
And at the end of the day, dig deeper.
Dig deeper, bro. Woo, woo,
right?
Man.
And I talk to, and this is I talk to my sons and my daughters about this. You know, everybody is brought here with a purpose.
Yes.
Right. You have to find your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find your purpose. There is no young man that will ever be able to come into my daughter's life and prove that he loves them more than I do. Ever. Won't happen. Because of that, my daughter's not going to take a lot of stuff from you. Right? Because my daddy loves us so much. And if you ain't giving me that feeling, we probably not going to work. Right? It's probably not going to work.
The stand a chance.
Right. And you know, when I think about how I grew up, right? I was, as a youth football player, and people ask me all the time, like, you know, at what point did you know that you were this leader? And I was 10 years old, and I was the quarterback on our junior Pee-wee football team. And when you play junior Pee-wee football at Pop Warner, the coaches can actually be on the field, right? The coaches could be in the huddle, right, for both teams. But our coaching staff was like, no, we're not coming in the huddle. This is why we come to practice, do what we do. So I'm the quarterback of the team. So not only did they not come in the huddle, the coach was like, Gerald, you're going to call the plays. You're going to call the plays on your own. So we're going to coach you up in practice, and y'all going to go out there and execute. And dude, man, I have to, and I write about this in my book, that RIP Coach Carl, this man basically ran a military ship, man. And we 10-year-olds, and we virtually in boot camp. Like, and that's what it was. And this one season we went undefeated, unscored on. And I'm the quarterback. So we play in this one team, and how we come out, right? When we come out to the field, I would come out first because I'm the quarterback. When we leave the field and we go shake hands, I'm last. So we played this team and we destroyed them. They were supposed to be a good team. At the time, they were undefeated. We were undefeated. It was supposed to be a good game. We blew them out by 5 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in to slap hands at the end of the game. And I'm at the back and the head coach is behind me. So I get to their head coach and we shake hands, and he says to my head coach, he was like, "Man, that was a great game you called." And my head coach, Carl, was like, "I didn't call that game. My quarterback did." So this man said, "You mean to tell me we just got destroyed like that by a 10-year-old?" Like, absolutely. At that moment, I had black men who poured into me and put me in a leadership position. And at that moment, I was a leader of men.
Dude, at that moment, you became the leader of, well, you recognized that you were a leader of men. Because the thing is, like you mentioned before, we all come here with a purpose. We're all, I believe it's all been downloaded into us. When we come here, you got a purpose. It's your job to mine out those gems and figure it out. And the challenge for a lot of us is that we don't always have that person who's going to help us dig, help us to figure it out, help us to identify, like, dude, you got something here, and to give us the opportunity for it to get put into practice. So when I'm doing coaching or when I'm speaking at times, I think about the whole concept, and I mentioned identity earlier, but it's 3 components, right? It's identity, capacity, and agility wrapped in your authenticity. Right. So your identity is who you are, with all of that. But once you realize who you are, then you can start really honing in on your capacity. Right. And your capacity are your tools, your gifts, your talents, your skills, all of that. But you don't know what those things are if you don't first know who you are. See, all this thing builds on your identity. And then from that point, it moves into agility. And agility is the flexibility to be able to use those tools properly in the proper setting. Some things you need to turn up, some you need to turn down. You need to pull a screwdriver out here, a saw out here. But the agility gives you that awareness and discernment to know when to use those tools that you're very capable of using, which was built on your identity. But the thing is, we got to wrap this thing all up in our authenticity, right? So we have to authentically push this whole narrative out there. And again, a lot of people can't do that on their own. And I would even say it's interesting. You're creating a pathway for young Black boys to be technically savvy and to just shake the world up in the realm of tech. You're pouring into them because on their own, a lot of young brothers might not find that. Just like at 10 years old, if you didn't have Coach, RIP, was it Coach? What was his name?
Coach Carl.
Coach, if you didn't have Coach Carl at 10 years old, who says, I see something in this young brother, he's capable, I'm going to train him, I'm going to get him right, I'm going to help him to understand who he is, I'm going to give him the tools, but then we're going to hone in on those tools, then I'm going to turn him loose to put those things into practice. Because the only way that you can become proficient in the tools, the gifts, the skills that you have is by putting them into practice. So we might give them to you, but you just got a whole hell of a lot of tools in the shed, and I don't know how to turn that thing on. And you cut your fingers off, right?
And in the same vein of what you said, right? Putting things into practice, we get better from repetition.
Ooh, come on.
Positive or negative.
Come on.
What's happening to our young sisters and our young brothers is they're putting negative things into practice, and it's becoming who they are. And we see this every day with what's going on in the hood with Black on Black crime. We see this today and how our young ladies are misrepresenting themselves on social media and how they're dressing and twerking and all of that, right? And they're putting this into practice, which as adults, actually, when they look back on it, it's a source of pain, right? It's a source of pain, but you're practicing this. You're putting in the repetition on it, right? Which ultimately is going to become a source of pain for you. And how do we combat that, right? And it goes back to identity. Who are you, right? If you don't know who you are as a young lady, it's easy to get on social media and bare your body. I don't know who I am. And the images that are being portrayed to me of these women who are becoming successful, who at the end of the day, and me and you see these videos all the time of what happened to a lot of the groups that came out of how they say at the end of the day, I didn't know who I was. I wasn't doing that because I wanted to do that. I did that because I was somebody was feeding me. And now what's feeding our children are likes, likes and follows, right? That's not your identity. That's not who you are.
You know, and I'm gonna tell you what's interesting about it. You know, as I was talking about identity, capacity, agility, wrapped in authenticity, I'm also talking about who you actually are, right? What we have to be mindful of, who we are and what people see aren't always the same thing. So
Right.
the same thing with it was interesting. I was listening to an interview, I think it was not long ago. It was on it was Earn Your Leisure, and they had Jim Jones on there, right? And Jim Jones was there talking about, he talking about hip hop and, Dipset and all this kind of stuff. But then he started talking about technology and investing and NFTs and all this stuff that he's in. Yeah. And he started, and it was crazy. I caught it. I don't think anybody else caught this. He started talking and he started to really nerd out on the tech stuff, like all the NFTs and the this and the that. He said, yo, hold on. We got to stop. Y'all gonna think I'm a nerd or something. I got to keep my gangster.
Right.
In the middle of the interview, and I actually snapped that, or I captured that and I reposted it because I was just like, that is so powerful. This brother literally nerded out on the tech stuff, but he caught himself. And he literally said in the interview, he said, whoa, we got to stop it. Y'all gonna think I'm a nerd or something, man. I don't, I got to keep my gangster. And that to me was this glaring example that we have to be mindful of. You listen to what people are saying, but you watch across the board. Sometimes these are characters. They're just putting on a costume. They're putting it out there for you. But then when they go home, they nerding out on the technology, they nerding out on math and on this and on investing and on travel and on all of this stuff. But to you, it's like, hey, I'm doing this and I'm a gangster, I'm a whatever. And you might be, but the other side to you is,
listen, I'm a perfect example of that.
Yes.
I'm a perfect example of that. And now I know that why can't you do it all? So now I can do it all because I still DJ.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll do a course and I'm gonna start it off on the turntable. So I'm like, yo, we can do the same. But when I was a kid, man, I was in that same vein. So because I was a star athlete, I was always smart and technically savvy. But coming from the neighborhood I came from, I had to fight too. And my father was just a no-nonsense type of guy. And my father just kind of instilled in me, you don't take no mess from nobody.
There you go.
Right. So I fought. So, and again, like you growing up in these neighborhoods, and I had my, young black males today had a first police encounter on average at 12. So I had my first police encounter at 12. I got expelled from school at 14 for fighting. Right now, you just don't get expelled from school for one fight.
There you go.
Multiple fights.
There you go. You got a body of work.
Right. So I had my rap sheet complete, so I had a reputation that I needed to uphold as an athlete and as just a no-nonsense young man. So when I get expelled from school, it's at the end of the school year. So it was at the end of the school year, didn't matter. So when I was coming back for my freshman year, I had to go do this expulsion meeting where they were going to send me to alternative school, right? So in this meeting is my mother, the administrators from the school, and the superintendent of schools. So the superintendent of schools is looking at my state test record. So the superintendent stops the meeting and was like, has anybody looked at Mr. Moore's New York State test scores? And the administrators of schools like, no, like this dude is a malcontent. We need to get him up out of here. Right? The superintendent says Mr. Moore's is testing at 12th year, 10th month in reading, math, and science coming out of 8th grade. So what that basically meant that I was testing out of high school coming out of 8th grade. Right? So, but mind you, as my middle school, I was a D student. I was a D student. One of the reasons I was a D student wasn't that I couldn't do the work.
You were bored.
Didn't do the work. Wasn't interested.
You were bored. Dude,
wasn't interested. Never had any black male educators. Never had any black male educators. So then as a 16-year-old, I got my first car at 16. Always into tech. And I had this reputation in my neighborhood. So growing up in Rochester, New York, Rochester sits on Lake Ontario. I would leave my neighborhood, drive out to the beach to read because I couldn't let my boys know I was reading. And if I was reading, I couldn't let them know I was reading engineering books. So one of my good friends said to me, he was like, and we 35 at the time, and he was like, yo, man, he was like, sometimes I think to myself, like, what am I doing, man? Like, me and Gerald grew up the same. We hung every day. How did you end up where you are? And I'm shooting this same screw in this box at this factory every day. And I told him, I was like, yo, man, when y'all was in the hood and I disappeared, I was at Lake Ontario reading.
Ooh.
Like I was reading. I was doing math. I was doing all of this other stuff that y'all didn't see.
Ooh, dude.
You know what I'm saying?
Fella, hold on. I hope you paid attention to what he was saying there. And that's kind of the beauty of the era that we live in now, where it's somewhat cool to be a nerd, right? It's okay to be different. You know, different is the new normal, right? Like everybody's wanting to do something different. But to your point, from our era back in the day, it wasn't cool to be a nerd. So you had to leave the hood to go somewhere to read so that you can learn, and also so that it didn't disrupt this narrative that you had created for yourself, this character.
Yeah, so even let me expand it further, right?
Okay.
So I'm this star athlete. I'm in the newspaper every day. And, you know, I had this gangster.
Yeah.
You know, people thought I kind of fit this mold where really that wasn't me. So I'm dating this girl, and you know, I'm like, let me take you to do stuff I like to do. And I take her to the waterfront. I take her, we leave the hood. I take her to the waterfront and we walk the waterfront. And I start talking about the stars and constellations. You know, it's evening and I'm into that stuff. Right? I'm into like, yo, there go Orion's belt and blah, 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 right? I thought you was, you know, you ain't who I thought you was. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't see or didn't have the desire to be with a man who was going to treat you nice in the future.
Wow.
Right? So I have this, so we go on, and then I take her to the bookstore. So we go to the bookstore. So I buy these books. I buy these tech books. So I was in the audio custom audio design, right? So I was installing at 15 years old. I was installing elaborate car audio systems for the drug dealers in my neighborhood.
Wow.
$1,000 a pop.
Wow.
I was in the DJing. So I was just into technology. So I take the same girl, we go to the bookstore, I buy a couple of audio books. I had got this one book. It was basically talking about teal small parameters. And you're probably like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Right. So basically, teal small parameters is how do you design a box to fit what the output of a subwoofer would be so you could get the maximum volume out of it. Like that's what I was into, right?
Wow.
So take this girl with me to the bookstore, and we leave the bookstore. And the next day I come to school. So this is on the weekends. The next day I come to school and I have all these girls roll up to me. So-and-so said you took her out and you just corny and you just because I was smart. Wow. Because when she thought I was dumb,
it was
I was hot. But when she realized that I had this intellectual side of me, she didn't want nothing to do with me. Now, 30 years later, this girl connects with me on Facebook. And she reaches out to me and said, can I call you? It's like, yeah, call me. So I'm talking to her and she said, I wish I would have known better at 15, 16 years old when you took me. She never forgot it.
Wow.
She never forgot it because nobody else had ever done anything like that with her in her life. So she never forgot it. And what she said to me, had I realized what you were doing at that time would have changed my life, because I've since been in 3 abusive relationships. And every time I get out of one of these abusive relationships, it always occurred to her was the man who would take her to the waterfront and the man who would take her to the bookstore was a better man who was going to try and maintain a gangster persona.
Ooh.
right? So you don't know what you don't know. You don't know who you are. Identity is important, and not having father figures in place. So my daughters know this.
Yeah.
My daughters know when you start dating a man, the first thing you ask him, what are your goals? What are your aspirations? If they don't aspire to do anything, if they don't have any goals, you immediately walk away because they will never. And it's not your role to help this man have goals. Your role will be, if this man has goals,
to pour gasoline on the fire.
Exactly.
Accelerate.
So my daughters know to ask this question. Immediately, save them a lot of heartache, right?
Yeah.
You will never get a chance to fall in love with a man who ain't going nowhere because you asked them up front. What are your goals? What do you aspire to do? How you gonna get there? And if they don't have no answers to those basic questions, if the answer is I don't know, that's who's gonna be leading your home. Somebody who don't know.
Whoa. That's the one who's gonna be leading your home. Someone who don't know. Fellas, ladies listening too, pay attention to that. Like literally, it's if we can disrupt patterns, we can change the narrative, right? If stuff is not going right, we need to disrupt the pattern. We can't look at, historically speaking, this is it, so therefore that's just what it's going to be and that's what we accept. No, you disrupt patterns, right? You think about like water running down a stream. If you want the water to divert, throw a big old rock in the middle of it and you see the water split. It'll change the pattern of the water itself. Right? We have to start throwing some big rocks in these streams that are cloudy, that are full of muck, that aren't leading anywhere, so that we can disrupt the patterns. And everything Gerald said was about disrupting patterns. I mean, when it comes to raising girls, when it comes to understanding worth, when it comes to young boys, but he's also disrupting patterns as it pertains to Mission Fulfilled 2030. And tell us a little bit more about the specifics of Mission Fulfilled 2030, what you got going on, where you're located, and just give us some nuances of that, and then how we can stay in touch with you and learn more about and support you.
Well, Mission Fulfilled, the vision is to inspire, educate, and activate 100,000 young Black males in tech and STEM. And when we look at that, we in 2021. So if we 10,000, if we can impact 10,000 Black boys a year by 2030, we have a pool of 100,000 Black boys. And if we look at our 8-year-olds today, 10 years out, they are our future. They are our workforce of the future, right? So what Mission Fulfilled is set to do is empower Black boys by creating programs and opportunities to participate in tech and STEM that are led by Black men. And why led by Black men? Because Black men make up less than 2% of the public school workforce. So like me, I never had a Black male educator my whole K through 12 experience.
Wow. And
we know that representation matters. So if we can't get it in school, we're going to give it to them outside of school. Think about this. 95% of our school systems, if tech is the future, 95% of our school systems don't have any engineers or computer scientists or technicians in their building. Woo. So how are we teaching the future to our children if we don't have the people who could teach it in our buildings?
So you said 95% of schools?
95% of schools don't have an engineer, a computer scientist teaching that stuff in their buildings.
Ooh. So you don't have the practical application. So you don't have someone in your building who has experience practically applying these technical solutions, these ideas, these theories, these, wow.
And in the field, everybody who works with Mission Fulfilled are current engineers working in the field. What our schools are doing, they're trying to get an English teacher to go take a code.org seminar and teach coding. They're trying to get a science teacher who've never had any practical in the field to try and come teach these complex, this complex information when they have no relevance.
Dude, check this out. I want to throw it, and this is so fascinating. I was having a conversation with, a guy that I'm connected to in higher education, in another area. And I was talking specifically about this in regards to higher education, how much or what percentage of the professors in higher education come from the private sector. And he was just like, dude, you'd be amazed that aside from maybe one or like maybe the business school, we might have a couple that retire and come over. But he said outside of that, Pretty much none. And so
Right.
most of the, even on the higher education level, the overwhelming majority of those that are teaching have never had practical experience with what they're teaching. It's all been in theory and in
Right.
research
Professional
and,
students.
and so to your point, how do you then inspire, educate, and equip with the tactics to practically apply it in the marketplace if you don't have marketplace experience?
Exactly. You can't. You
Mm,
can't give that relevance,
mm,
right? So you can't give, and that's why we're important. That's why we're important, because we're bringing in men from the field who are actually doing it. And then when you're talking to Black boys, we have to make it culturally relevant, right?
yes.
I'm a hip hop guy. I grew up hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
right? I listen to what the kids are listening to. I don't like a lot of it, but I need to know what's going on.
Yes.
And I'm still hip hop, right? Like the beats and the rhymes and all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. I can take that stuff and relate it to you while I'm teaching you how to build an app.
Mm. It's relevant, dude. You have to, you got to contextualize everything. Like everything has to be in context and it has to be relevant. It's kind of, I mean, you can, putting it where the goats can get it. It's like speaking languages, right? If you're going to impact somebody in West Africa that speaks Twi and don't speak English, you going in speaking English, they're gonna look at you and nod, right?
Absolutely.
Right. On the flip side, if they trying to inspire you and you don't speak Twi or you don't speak, one of the languages, you're gonna be like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. Point to the wall. I need a picture, something, because that's the whole thing. When you contextualize it, when you make it relevant by using things that kids, whether you agree with it or not, where the things that they connect to, it puts it in a scenario. It gives like some kind of connectivity there where they can then use it and apply it to life. If we're just using this other stuff that they don't relate to,
Absolutely. They're
yeah,
going to check out.
yeah, they're gonna check out because it ain't for them.
And that's what's happening in our education, right?
Mm.
That's what's happening in our education. So, with Mission Fulfilled and how you can connect with us, missionfulfilled2030.org.
Okay.
And we're actually launching in April this 10,000 young black male initiative, and a 1,000 young black men in tech initiative.
Okay.
And the goal is every year we're going to do these initiatives to kind of get that next crop of 10,000. And when you become a member, there's all this stuff you get as a member, right? There's this credo, the Mission Fulfilled credo. I will. I will uphold to this standard. I will, create these opportunities for myself, right? Create that identity, build in that identity to them. Most of us, why are we able to capture young black males in the neighborhood in gangs? They want to be a part of something.
That's right. And
give you an opportunity to be a part of something.
That's right.
Part of something national, huge. We're gonna give you an opportunity to wear the shield, right? And be a part of something that's bigger than you standing alone. Of like me, that one young black male who had to drive to the beach and read because all of my friends was on some gangster stuff, right? So we gonna, and it goes back. I remember I graduated high school with a 1.69 GPA.
Hold on, stop. You graduated with 1.9 GPA, but you were testing off the charts.
I was testing off the charts in 8th grade.
Wow.
So when I finally graduated, so people ask me all the time, well, if you graduated 1.69 GPA, how did you get an engineering degree? Well, fortunately, Norfolk State at the time had an open enrollment policy. So I was able to get into school and I tested into the engineering department.
Wow.
Right. Wow. So on that intelligence factor, I had it all the time. I wasn't displaying it because I had to display this hardcore image to make it through. Right. So, that's what we want to do. And I remember when I first got to school and I met these brothers and I'm in the dorm and I meet, all these new brothers and we in college now. So brothers on a whole new thing. And I'm in the technology building and these dudes from my class is like, yo, we're going to order some pizzas and go to the technology building and study. That blew my mind.
Because where you came from,
that blew my mind. I'm like, yo, y'all bugging. I'm like, yo, y'all see all those girls out there? Y'all see all those beautiful black women stomping this campus? What you mean we gonna get some pizzas and study? But you know what I did?
Wow.
I go my $5. I'll meet y'all up there at 8.
Wow.
Right. So we have to create that. We have to create that type of camaraderie where young brothers feel comfortable, you know, exploring and putting out that hidden genius that's in every one of them.
Ooh, dude, we have to create those environments, right? We got to create the space and opportunity for those things to thrive. And when you think about things grow in environments that are proper for them to grow. So when you think about bacteria and viruses and all of that stuff, they talk about certain times a year. You know, why is flu season during a certain time of year? Because the environment is ripe for that particular virus to grow. That's negative. On the positive end, what environments are we creating? What space and opportunity are we creating for young Black boys to thrive, to grow, but then most importantly, to identify who they are and really get firm in their identity, but then to ultimately materialize into who they are called to be? Because everybody's going to be different. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you want to create space and opportunity for them to materialize into who it is they are called to be. And brother, Gerald Moore Sr., brother, I salute you, man. This missionfulfilled2030.org, y'all visit it, y'all check it out. You check out the initiative that he got going on, in which is 10,000 brothers a year. The goal is to activate and inspire 100,000 young Black males by 2030 in the realm of tech and STEM. He's doing the doggone thing. He's originally from Rochester, New York, currently in the DMV. He's a father of 5+1. He's a father of 6. He's mentoring thousands. I mean, man, brother, any parting words before we get out of here, man?
Yeah, again, you know, if you want to support the organization, missionfulfilled2030.org, hit the donate button. Also, my book, Motivate Black Boys, How to Prepare for Careers in Tech and STEM. If you have a young man who wants to explore and figure out, you know, what he wants to do, this is a great book to kind of expand his mind. It has some awesome tools in it to teach him how to lay out SMART goals. And there's even a code in there to take a course in the tech school for Black boys. I also have another book, When Men Lean In, We All Win. And it's redemption stories of Black men and who we are in our communities, you know, and how we support our families, and just to change the narrative of young Black males and Black men. And Mission Fulfilled, we're looking into the future, and we have to support organizations like Mission Fulfilled. Yes. I haven't got one grant yet. Right? It's the people who support Mission Fulfilled. The Mission Fulfilled is a great opportunity. And if you want to support something that's going to grow and actually sprout those seeds in the future, and we see this logo, I got to explain to people what this logo is, right?
Okay.
If you look at that, right, and you see that Y in the middle, imagine that's you and you got your hands out, right? And then you got all these other little sprouts with their hands out. And imagine that keep going. This is community.
Yes.
This is community.
Yes.
This is community. And the only way we're going to build it is through community. We can't, you know, it would be lovely for the government to step in and be like, Gerald, we're going to give Mission Fulfilled the tools that it needs to do what it needs to do. But these are the systems that are in place, right? These are the systems that are in place. Right, they're making prisons on the state test results of Black boys. Right, they're making prisons for us. So that's where that funding is going. So the funding that they're using for prisons that should be coming to Mission Fulfilled are going to prisons. So we got to offset that.
We're going to. We're going to offset that. And the thing is, they're building prisons. You basically are giving them the unlock code.
Right. And, you know, just definitely. So any way you can support Mission Fulfilled, and sharing is caring. Yes, share what we do. Go to our social media, missionfulfilled2030.org. Share what we do, right? Share what we do. We want this initiative that we're launching, our 10,000 Young Black Males initiative. There'll be a sign-up form, a registration form on our website as of the 14th of April, if not sooner. And we're launching this 10,000 initiatives. We're also going to be doing webinars and seminars where we talk to young Black men, and Mr. Mike Dorsey, you'll be there. Yes. Talking to our young Black boys about identity.
Yes.
Right? Identity. Who are you? So we got a lot of things going on, And we're a national organization. We started hyper local out of the Washington, D.C. metro area, but we're working with Black boys all over the country. We even got a crew of boys in Africa that I consult. So, we even expanding out to the diaspora, and Black men supporting Black boys. That's Black men supporting Black boys. And I don't even have to talk about our women, because when we do what we're supposed to do, our women will support.
Ooh, come on.
When we do what we're supposed to do, our women will support. So I'm not even concerned about that path, right?
They got, dude, like you mentioned before, they are the most educated. They starting businesses at a faster rate than any other demographic in the country. They're doing the doggone thing. It's about us. Like you mentioned, you're activating and inspiring 100,000 young Black boys. We also got to activate and inspire 1 million grown Black men to do the doggone thing as well.
Absolutely. And when we start showcasing that we're doing this, our women will support. Man, I get an outpouring of women who support this organization, Black women who support this organization. So I know they're going to be there. And, as far as Black men, we got to be more progressive in, what can we do? We can seed the organization. We can seed the organization. You can donate $25, right? You can donate $25. What if 1,000 brothers decided they would donate $25 a month?
That's 25 grand a month. That's real.
We have a fully functioning operation, right? We could do all the work we wanted to do nationwide, and that's nothing. You spending that money on beer and football games.
Come on.
And Chick-fil-A. And lining up in the line at Popeyes to get the spicy chicken.
Come on, man. Y'all, you can cut out the spicy chicken at least once a month and go ahead and throw a little something.
Right.
Towards
we definitely, with shows like yours, giving me the opportunity to get the exposure, and we talking about these issues in a way that's contextual for us, right? In our community.
Yes.
I definitely think, people are listening, and we're going to grow, and we're going to change the narrative of the Black family. And this ain't about really what I do for Black boys. Is more so about the Black family, because without Black men, we don't have Black family. Systemically, there's been systems put in place to eliminate the Black man from the family. So people know what they're doing. But we got to counteract that, because we also know what's going on. And
you said it. You said people know what they're doing, but guess what? We know what we're doing too. So therefore, this counterbalance is coming into play. And so, yes, man, at the end of the day, each component is necessary. It goes back to the example of the puzzle. The puzzle's not defined by any one piece, but that puzzle's incomplete without every piece necessary. And so, brother, I know you got a hard stop. You got to run to another meeting. But ladies, fellas, everybody listening, make sure to visit missionfulfilled2030.org. Follow Mission Fulfilled 2030 on all social media platforms. You've just been listening to Mike D chop it up with my man, Gerald Moore Sr. The brother's doing the doggone thing. He's going to activate 100,000 at a minimum, 100,000 young Black boys in the realm of tech and STEM by 2030. He's already on his way. Y'all support. Y'all get in behind this brother. We got to lift brothers like this who are doing the doggone thing. And as always, make sure to follow Black Fathers Now on all social media. Subscribe to this podcast. Share this episode out. And until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.